Today we're going to be doing some cherry picking of low-lying spiritual fruits. We all know that doing serious stuff like meditating for an hour every day of the week is going to be beneficial to us in the long term. But this video is about 10 things that we can do in terms of spirituality that are much, much easier into transforming our lives into a place that is much more harmonizing with divine dimensions. Number 1, not swearing OTT. So I personally think that swearing can be fine at times. Sometimes you really want to communicate to someone that something is fucked up. For instance, the fall of Baghdad when the Mongolians invaded Persia, I think if you read about the history around that, is truly fucked up. But there's a different side of swearing, which is casual swearing. And I would discourage people from doing this if you're interested in harmonizing with the divine dimensions. Language can be a subtle magic. Sometimes it's not so subtle. By the words you speak, you can open beautiful divine dimensions, or much more easier, you can open goetic dimensions. And this is commonly done through swearing. If you really want to swear, then go ahead and do it. I'm not going to judge you. But what I would recommend is don't go mixing swear words with sacred words. A very low-level version of this would be by going, "Holy shit," when you are stuck in traffic, and just saying things like that in daily life for slight inconveniences. But by combining a sacred word with a goetic word, like "holy shit," you're literally smearing those two dimensions together, which is a subtle form of sacrilege if we're, resurrecting an old word. And not to be overly judgmental, but, especially in some places like Australia, swearing is casually just extremely normal and everyone does it. But if you want to be a little bit more harmonizing with divinity, then this is something that's easy to cut out, and over the years will make a huge, huge, huge difference in where you are mentally at in your spirituality. Number 2, positively fuel your creative passions. Whatever it is in your heart that you are burning to do, even if it's just a little flame, I highly encourage you to make time to let that flame burn away your desires into animation. I think that this is one of the most spiritual experiences a human being can have, especially if you have a desire in your heart that wants to make the world a better place or a more beautiful place. That could be random stuff, like making your own customized pens and selling them on Etsy. Or perhaps you want to make random spiritual videos on YouTube and share them with people. Or perhaps it is programming a spiritual website, or whatever it is that you want to do. I encourage you, do it. If you want to change the world, this is a common thing that happens. We're not as successful as we wish to be initially, but it is still vital that you go down this road and burn those desires into animation. You can't just sit on those desires your whole life. This is wasting your life, if we're being honest. Go ahead and do those things. And if it's a huge mistake, at least you lived your life from a place of lovingly burning, passionate desire. I would only make a small distinction though, and that is to analyze within yourself where this desire is coming from. Maybe you want to do something that is innocently cute and nice, like making videos about your dogs. I think this is great. It is letting joy and beauty flourish in the world. But if you want to go wiggling your butt on TikTok, then there's quite a big chance, let's be honest, that you are actually looking for approval and to maybe fill some kind of void in your life because your parents didn't give you enough love and attention, or who knows what. But just analyze, introspect within yourself why you want to be creative. If it feels like it's coming from a place of goodness and creativity, then 100% positively fuel that fire as much as you can. Even if it's a tiny little candle that's just glowing, turn it into a bonfire, animate yourself, give it time, give it money, give it space, do it. Number 3 is choosing ethical meat and eggs, and milk for that matter. Now, this is a very sensitive topic and a very unpopular topic, of course. No one likes to think too much about the food that they're eating because it's a huge task, if we're honest. There's you're eating a lot of times every day and you really have to go researching where exactly the eggs inside this biscuit came from. It's a hard thing to do. And when you're hungry, all you want to do is eat. You don't want to contemplate the meaning of life and the karmic repercussions of every bite you take. But let's be honest, sometimes it's just over the top how evil food can be. And I don't want to judge anyone, but this is just an honest conversation between you and I. Things like McDonald's pork coming from a factory farmed, really industrial process where pigs are just shoved into a little box for their whole lives, living in their own shit. It is truly fucked up. I don't think we should be doing that. And I think in 100 years' time, we might be looking back at this generation and, thinking how barbaric we were. So I'm not saying stop eating meat. I eat meat, but just don't choose the worst of all meats. Stay away from the really cheap fast food meats. And if you want to save money, go and buy some chicken gibbets. That's still protein. There's nothing wrong with a chicken gibbet, chicken hearts, chicken liver, chicken feet. Eat whatever you want that's cheap. But don't get like mass-produced factory farmed meat, I would highly suggest. If reincarnation is true, which I personally suspect it is, you can just imagine the amount of karmic, horrendous future you are putting on yourself. As the saying goes, the wheel is turning, and what we sow, we will reap. I know that I don't want to be at the bottom of the wheel of this karmic cycle of factory farming, and even just independent of that, if reincarnation is not true at all, just from a place in our hearts, I think we can avoid the most evil, the most suffering caused means of production of them all, which is factory farming. Just get something like eat some beef from a cow that was living in a field. Grass-fed beef. That's much healthier. And from a karmic standpoint, you're not absolutely poisoning your future self. Number 4 is choosing ethical vegan foods. And I really wanted to include this one because a lot of vegans, especially when they're young, they do get a little bit on their high horse, feeling super holy, that they're vegan and not causing suffering to animals, and how much better am I than everyone else. I used to be vegan as well. I didn't find it to be too healthy. I was like 10 kgs lighter than I am now, and girls were not into that. But, I don't want to bore you with my love life. Veganism doesn't cause as direct a suffering onto animals as eating meat and dairy and eggs does. Because ultimately, to eat an animal, we pretty much have to kill it. But sometimes, killing a wild animal, for instance, one that is a pest, like a wild boar or a wild kangaroo, where the numbers are too large, if you kill a wild animal like that with a gun and a single shot, I think this is a very ethical way of eating any kind of food. Vegan food can actually be very detrimental onto the world and the environment. For instance, a lot of it is shipped all over the world by getting different ingredients, so there's a lot of CO2 production related to that. A lot of almonds and other crops suck a lot of water out of the environment, and a lot of natural environment is cut down to grow all kinds of vegan foods. So the point is, if you have this feeling in your heart that you do not want to cause all kinds of suffering onto animals, then that's a fantastic divine feeling that you can have in your heart. Recognize that. The feeling that humans can have to not want to cause suffering is a divine feeling. That's coming from a divine dimension, and we should listen to that. The deeper truth there is to be aware of where our food comes from. Even if it is vegan, it could be causing damage into the world. Number 5, start asking, who am I? This is probably the most famous spiritual riddle that someone can give you, and there is very good reason for that. But there's also a problem with this riddle, and that is that a lot of people don't get any sort of traction. The wheels inside your mind are just spinning, but what does this question even mean? Who am I? I would advise that just to get started with this, practice for 30 seconds before bed or 20 seconds before going to work or just when you're bored waiting for the bus. Try to point with your finger to where you are. A lot of people would gravitate towards pointing at their heart because they feel like this is where I am. But you can dig a little deeper and ask, like, what would happen if I had a heart transplant? Would that person's soul enter my body, and what all kind of weird things would happen? Maybe you gravitate towards pointing to your brain, and then you can ask yourself, what would happen if I had a corpus callostomy, where my brain is actually cut in half? That actually rarely happens to people, and they still function and seem to be totally conscious. So try to point to where you are, and over time you're going to discover that this is an impossible task. And actually it is impossible to frame with words and ideology who you are. And this is fantastic. This question of who am I is a scalpel that you can use to identify what you are not. And this will over time reveal the ethereal nature of who you really are. Number 6, choose divine music and avoid goetic music. I feel really embarrassed talking about this because people love the music that they love. They definitely don't want anyone to criticize their music. And, you know, I love music myself. I think it's wonderful. It is the most powerful tool that humans have invented for opening portals to other dimensions on a regular basis. And it totally can open dimensions of divinity and dimensions of warmth and love, dimensions of care, but also dimensions of self-loathing, dimensions of bitterness, dimensions of overly sexualized hedonism, drug use, stuff like that. So I personally don't like rap. If you really love the beats of rap and hip-hop, maybe find an instrumental version of a song, or really dig and find an artist that has positive lyrics, not like ones that are just worshipping drug use and pimping women up and slapping big butts. Now, for me, I sometimes like to listen to some heavy metal. Almost all heavy metal songs have terrible lyrics. Some of them are not so terrible, but I like instrumental heavy metal music, and I find it especially useful when I need to do some serious focused work because it allows me to just forget all these philosophical ideas and focus on what needs to be done now. It like charges a fire within you. But I'm consciously choosing an instrumental version of that so that it doesn't have all these lyrics of weird stuff within it. So my tip is enjoy music as much as you can, but choose ones that are healthy. Analyze the lyrics specifically, and if you like music but don't agree with the lyrics, then get the instrumental versions of those instead. Even something like pop music, you know, those things are designed to be catchy. They are very catchy, but if you analyze the lyrics and compare them with your own inner values, you will find a lot of them lacking. And playing those songs in your head are opening those portals and those dimensions and making your nervous system resonate more according to those songs. That is why music is so magical, and it's just a matter of using your consciousness to choose music that is going to benefit you. There's no reason to sacrifice any kind of joy in that process. Number 7 now is to start micro-meditating. This just means meditating for 30 seconds or 60 seconds at random points throughout the day, whenever you want, whenever you're feeling good. Maybe just after you had a coffee, maybe if you see a nice sunset, just meditate for 30 seconds. I suspect that meditating for 1 minute, 20 times a day, it's actually better for you than meditating once off for 40 minutes. And that is because you're making this habit of introspection go throughout the day. So just to keep things simple, if you haven't meditated before, all you need to do a micro meditation is watch your thoughts come like a cloud and go like a cloud. Watch them come from nothing and then disappear back into nothing. That's it. You don't need to stop your thoughts. You don't need to change your thoughts. Whatever they are, just watch them come and watch them go. This again is going to reveal the deeper ethereal nature of your mind. But what's important is to just get started with this process. Become interested in your own introspection. All right, number 8. I think this is a very fun spiritual fruit. And that is to decorate your home with some spiritual stuff, whatever that is. It makes a big difference what you surround yourself with. It's not super like hugely impactful, like something like psychedelics. If you take a psychedelic, your world is going to be changed instantly as soon as it kicks in. If you get a nice picture of Jesus walking on the water of the Sea of Galilee, then that is probably not going to give you some huge spiritual revelation straight away. But by seeing something like this every day, or whatever you like in terms of spiritual resonance, just decorate your home, and every day it's going to subconsciously seep into your mind, into your dreams. And again, those dimensions are going to be opened up to you on a much more consistent basis. So just decorate your home. It's fun to do. It makes you feel better on so many levels. Anything that you resonate with, from flowers to cushions that look good. And a specific little decoration I like is to keep an eternal flame in your house. Number 9 is not drinking OTT. You are allowed to drink for sure, but really I am making this point because I come from Australia, and here drinking a lot is part of normal society. So after work, it is extremely common for the guys to go to the pub and grab a few pints of beer, and then you're going to go home and have a beer with dinner as well, of course. And when you're cooking dinner, you might have a wine with that as well. That's just called multitasking. It is efficient. But the thing is, just because everyone is drinking casually every day doesn't mean it's healthy. And it certainly isn't the worst thing in the world, but it isn't something that is going to be bringing you into the divine dimensions on a regular basis. Ultimately, it is better if we find regular sources of joy outside of substances, whether that's smoking or alcohol or whatever. It's better that you find joy by playing with your dog, or doing something creative, or playing some sports, or listening to music, or watching something on TV that is healthy for you. There's many options to find regular joy in your life, but alcohol is not a long-term good solution. It does ultimately numb the mind and even numb the spirituality. But don't go too far with this. Some alcohol is fine. If you want to drink a glass of wine over Christmas, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't go over the top with drinking. That's all I'm saying, really. Sometimes for me in Australia, it feels like such a rebel thing to do, to go to a barbecue and not have a beer and just drink some water or whatever. Number 10, go to church. The main thing I want to say here is that you don't have to 100% dogmatically buy into a religion's beliefs in order to go to church. Or if you want to go to a Buddhist monastery or a Hindu temple, any sort of spiritual place that you like, don't overly judge these people's beliefs and nitpick tiny little issues that they have. It's very easy to nitpick someone's beliefs and find small little contradictions. Look at the deeper spirituality, which is people are coming together to focus on the divine. They are putting in energy and effort and emotion into praising and wanting to be, yearning to be more holy in their own lives. That is what going to the church is about. So I am not associating myself as a Catholic. I just associate myself more as a general Christian who finds a lot of inspiration and salvation from the Holy Spirit. But there are lots of small things about the Catholic Church which I don't fully agree with. However, having said that, I love the Catholic service. It is incredibly beautiful, incredibly symbolic, and I feel like I'm sitting in the house of God when I'm in a Catholic church during service. The communion is one of the most beautiful things in daily life that you can have, so don't miss out on that. Don't go judging these people because they believe in something like the earth is 6,000 years old, because many of them don't. People can be deeper than, the dogma would imply, and people often do build strawmans out of religion. But even if they are wrong about something basic, they still have a deeper, genuine faith within themselves into yearning for something greater than themselves. And that in itself is very valuable, and that in itself is coming from the divine. If you have something in your heart that just wants to be more divine, notice that in other people as well, and learn to be patient and learn to look past their small little faults. So it's a small thing that requires some discipline to wake up Sunday morning and go to the church, but it is really worthwhile, and I highly encourage you to do it. In the grand scheme of things, it really, really will make a huge difference looking back after 5 years. A very noticeable difference, and it's something that anyone can do. It's really super easy. And who knows, you might make some friends as well. So there you go, 10 spiritual low-hanging fruits. You know, a cherry will never pick itself from the tree, but you don't have to go getting a ladder straight away to get the one at the top. Start with the lowest hanging fruits and enjoy the beautiful sweetness of divine spirituality.